What up, y'all? It's T-Tar, and we're continuing with Pokemon X and Y's scrapped original story that we've been going through. This is part 4. It might be a bit confusing if you haven't seen the others, but it'll be fine. Let's keep going. So yeah, the main thing we've been trying to do is figure out if this is a hoax or not. So far, it's so absurd but believable. So last time, of course, we talked about how the gym leaders were supposed to be based on sport professions, all 8 of them, and how Viola and Alexa, these 2 characters that didn't amount to much in the final game, were apparently supposed to have a bigger purpose involving aliens and Team Flare and all. We put our imagination to work on that last one and came up with a cool story of what might have been intended for them. And you know, the more you think about how in-depth some of the things in this leak are, it actually does make sense that it would be stripped down to a very simple version in the final product. All Pokemon games, for some reason, they lack that proper depth. Only in like Scarlet and Violet, and then in Black and White did you have that more deeper dive. It's too believable that they'd have proper ambitious visions and then just squeeze most of it out. Let's keep going. Grant and Korrina were the first 2 gym leaders really designed during the sports stage of planning the gym leaders, and more or less stayed the same, although Korrina was given the role of the Mega Pokemon prodigy later on. Weirdest of all, Grant was originally wheelchair bound with strong upper arm strength, which he used to climb rocks. Yo, that is a badass idea. Okay, we'll get Grant out of the way. So he's already a rock climber as well as like a bike rider and all, but they were gonna take that to a higher level, which would make sense, right? Since he's wheelchair bound, he worked on what he could so he can climb rocks. The whole puzzle probably would have been different too. Maybe when you fight him as the gym leader, he's like doing a handstand or something. That's a sick idea. The Korrina originally not being the Mega Evolution prodigy is an interesting one too. There's a weird contrast here. You got this girl on roller skates, and then she's the Mega Evolution prodigy at the same time. When you think of Mega Evolution prodigy, right, you think of some like stoic character or this calm character that is like a monk. But you got Korrina, who's hanging around. It kind of does feel like they had a different person who's supposed to be the Mega Evolution prodigy and all, and again they squeezed that story in and just gave it to Korrina. It might have been in Shallor City as well, where her gym independently would have existed, so they're like, you know what, give it to her. I do find that very believable. It is obviously possible that, you know, Korrina, they just wanted to make a goofy character for that, but you can see the way that Tower of Mastery looks, the music in the background, that unusual Lucario statue. It feels like there's supposed to be a different vibe attached to it. Maybe it was something like Korrina wasn't actually directly involved with Mega Evolution, and it was all this weird eyebrow man that was supposed to be the monk I'm talking about, Gherkin. But then they wanted someone more your age to introduce you to Mega Evolution, so they linked the gym leader of that city with Gherkin and made her related to him, and that's how it went down. Let's see what's next. Clemont and Bonnie were switched. Originally, Bonnie was the eldest sibling. Okay, I assume they had different designs. Clemont the little brother, but the team felt that his younger design was a bit too similar to Trevor's, so they made Clemont the older character. How about you make a freaking better Clemont? That sounds like the weirdest answer to your problem. Also, freaking kick Trevor out of the game. No one even knows who Trevor is. A lost plot point still visible in the final version, but never explicitly stated, is that Clemont had designed the equipment Lysander used in the final battle, its original purpose being less malevolent, however. Oh man, this is believable, my dudes. What is that Lysander gadget that popped up in the final version? Apparently, it's a device that can suck Xerneas and Yveltal's power out and then power the ultimate weapon through that, which I guess he already did, which is how the ultimate weapon has power in the first place. But fam, that came out of nowhere. The notion that Clemont already wears a mini version of that and probably did make it is an interesting take. But again, that also comes out of nowhere. It makes sense. There's a whole story that's supposed to go in line with the suit and the climax of this whole Team Flare crap. But there is something a bit weird here, right, my dudes? And maybe this is something we can use to pick this apart and identify this is a hoax, this whole leak. And it's, think about what they've written here. I've been fair to this. I've been a skeptic, but I've been giving it a fair shot. But think about what they've written here, right? They've written that Lysander and Team Flare are aliens. They came with alien tech. Freaking AZ came 3,000 years ago, a same kind of alien with these super tech weapons called Xerneas and Yveltal. If these aliens are so advanced from us, why did this leaker then write that Clemont is the one that designed this Dr. Octopus suit for Lysander? Read that part again. A lost plot point still visible in the final version, but never explicitly stated, is that Clemont had designed the equipment Lysander uses in the final battle. That's freaking stupid. Under your context, this man should have been have some kind of way to drains your Nivelto's power, or at least alien tech that should be leagues better than what Earth can do, right? That's the whole concept of the aliens that they stated in the beginning. AZ, when he arrived on a ship 3,000 years ago, was so advanced that even when pieces of his ship fell down, they became this whole culture that we could transform into Mega Evolution because of this alien energy in them all. That's how far advanced and foreign that stuff was. Lysander really had to get an invention from Clemont? Unless they flip it around and say it's something like Lysander originally had this and it was broken down, and under his guise as Sycamore or the nice Lysander, he actually got Clemont, which would be the best inventor or engineer and all in Kalos. He got Clemont to fix it up. And so Clemont has a mini version he made with that tech, and then Lysander has a repaired version. That's the only way I can make this work. Let's keep going. Ramos and Wulfric, this is the grass leader and the ice leader, seem to have evolved from the rodeo rider and surfer mentioned above and aged up to stand out. I mean, sure, bro. Ramos has got his big scissors, he's making tea. I don't know how you're gonna relate this to a rodeo rider. Wulfric was going to have a larger role in the final version involving Mewtwo, but it was cut. Oh, what an easy thing to say. Fam, Wulfric stood out very distinctly from the rest of the game. You encounter Wulfric and fight the 8th gym leader after the Lysander events. That's the point of this theme, this Snowbell theme. The reason it's so sad isn't just to give that cold vibe, it's because it's post Lysander, unless I'm remembering this game wrong. Wulfric is the one who you don't even find in his gym. You go to the Pokemon village and he's talking to you about what the Pokemon village is and all. Clearly, they had something planned for him. That's easy to say. I don't need to hear from you. It would be interesting if they developed this into a cool plot, like the reason Mewtwo is there is because Wulfric actually ran into Mewtwo and is the one who actually told Mewtwo to hang out in the Pokemon village, and that Wulfric will generally watch over the Pokemon in the Pokemon village, make sure people don't come and harm them. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a backstory to Mewtwo being there? And then maybe there was like a post-game involving Wulfric, where he's the main person you travel with and all, which would make him a real important character that you only get to see a glimmer of in the main story. Maybe originally Mewtwo wasn't supposed to be holding its Mega Stone. If you think about it, it's kind of unnecessary and too fast. You fight Mewtwo, catch it, boom. All Mewtwo content unlocked because he's holding the Mewtwo Knight X or Y. It would make more sense that, you know, there was another event that happens that leads to you getting the Mewtwo Knight. So maybe you tag with Wulfric and do something, break into some weird lab where you get the Mewtwo Knight, and then that would explain more lore on how Mewtwo has a Mega Stone, something like people try to make it for him. It makes sense that there was a separate event planned for the Mewtwo Knights, and it's the scrapping of that combined it with the Mewtwo encounter and just made him hold it. Man, Mewtwo really sucks, doesn't he? You get him in the post game, he's holding the Mewtwo Knights. By the time you get him, you can't do anything with them. They would have rather, people who played X and Y, would have rather you get Mewtwo like level 30 if you do some very special side quests. Like you gotta do the equivalent of gathering items from various different places, then you can go unlock this cave, catch Mewtwo early. That would have been much more fun, bro. Everything about Mewtwo was squished into the end. It worked because you got to throw Mewtwo in the hype season, but it legit feel like Mewtwo was supposed to have so much more surrounding it in the final game. Alright, let's go to the next one. Valerie's design is a leftover of the original alien life form idea planned for Diantha, given a weird unnatural appearance. Although she's not necessarily an alien in the final version, since that plot point doesn't exist. I don't believe you on this, bro. You saying this because she's wearing those contacts that make her pupils giant. See, I'm seeing right through you now. I don't like this alien idea this much. It was cool with Lysander, Team Flare, and AZ, but it gets weird with the Diantha and then Valerie. It's a little too unnecessary. I mean, what the frick? She's a gym leader at the end of the day. You just gonna introduce in X and Y a bunch of aliens that are on Earth? He's getting in my head. I don't believe this one though. Olympia was one of the last gym leaders to be created. Once the basic framework of the present main plot was created with all the alien stuff exercised, and was planned to have a much larger role in the Team Flare plot, involving her being connected to the legendaries. Darn, she do have a... So he's saying this version of Olympia itself, because this is after they already extinguished all the alien stuff, it was still supposed to be related to the X and Y legendaries and all. You know what? I suppose it's believable. But was ultimately cut down to a flat character. She also has a more androgynous character design, but her feminine features are made more prominent. We gotta look at this from a different perspective. The dude who made this post is claiming they talked to Game Freak employees, former and current, and this is like the very scrap of their X and Y notes. when you see it from that context, the stuff does sound more believable. Maybe she could have been some kind of character that knew more about Zernis and Yveltal and where they rest. So maybe there's people who witnessed Zernis and Yveltal when they go to sleep 800 years ago. She's like a descendant of that. And so she kind of keeps the secrets of where they're resting. And so what you would have had happen is Lysander would have had to go and hunt her down, get her to reveal where Zernis and Yveltal are sleeping. Maybe she only reveals one depending on which game, right? And that's how he even gets Zernis and Yveltal in the first place. Yeah, this one's pretty believable. I suppose taking a step back and looking at what we covered in this video, again, you gotta look at the context right? Even when they say Bonnie and Clement were switched last minute, you gotta imagine this was at the very start when they were just drawings on a scrap piece of paper. So of course they could have swapped them easily. Bonnie was originally the great inventor. They swapped it and made her the little one. There's still a bit more to this post. I'm hoping they'll touch on Mega Evolutions and all. I'm still on the fence on whether this is a hoax yet because I'm letting it entertain me. But one thing that this big post is doing is helping us see how bland some stuff in X and Y were in the final product, right? And by noticing these things, you can tell where they squeezed the content out of these final games. Whether this was the scrap content or not, the things they do mention in this post probably did really have scrapped content, like Wulfric taking you to the Pokemon village, like Team Flare being mostly unexplained, Mega Evolution being a bit odd and unexplained. Clearly there are scrapped histories to this. Yeah, let me know in the comments about all that scrapped content. Do you think this post actually holds some of the truth, talking to all these Game Freak employees and getting this out? Anyhow, shank that like button. We got more to go through. We'll do that next time. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.